Hello, everybody, and welcome to the New Flame Sports Podcast. And for the first time ever, we're international. Yes, Kareem is in Canada, as you might know, as I said last week. Unfortunately, Dean is not able to be here this week. Hopefully, he'll be able to be with us next week when when we do this again. So anyway, I just want to know, Kareem, how has Canada been?
Well, obviously, still in quarantine. It's been very rough, but we'll get through it. We've only got, I think, maybe 6 days left. So it's been fun. It's definitely been quite an experience being locked inside of a house for the week it's already been. But I mean, I wouldn't say I've enjoyed it,
Yeah, I
but
mean, because you're
it's
not
it's
even like
it's
able to
something
go
different.
outside it like at all. You're like
No,
locked down, bunkered
yeah,
down.
it's plus I think we're going in a big lockdown here in a few days
For the
because
for
COVID's not great. It's getting
yeah,
pretty bad over here, which is kind of
case
unfortunate.
around
But
the globes. So anyway,
yeah,
all right. Well, hopefully, once your quarantine is over, you have a good stay in Canada while you're there. So anyway, we have a just a lot of stuff to get through. For most fantasy leagues, the playoffs have started. So we're gonna give you some advice. Some last minute pickups. Maybe if someone's ruled out due to injury. You never know. So anyway, let's get right into it with the week 14 recap, I believe. Um, all right, let's. This was the marquee matchup of the week, and this was the matchup that I watched. We have Chiefs Dolphins. I was very excited to be able to watch the game. So anyway, even though we still lost, but let's get right into it. For the Dolphins, it was all the Dolphins the first quarter in like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, and then till the end, till the fourth quarter, it was Chiefs. It was just one of those
yeah,
games where it was all right, they have the momentum. Oh, one play, it shifts back to the other team. Oh, one more play, and it's back to this team. And the Chiefs looked like they were going to steamroll us heading into that fourth quarter, down 30-10. And then we came back and made it the final 33-26. But there were two things that made the Dolphins lose, which I think if these two things didn't happen, we would have won. Okay, three things. First off is the injuries. Jeez, the injuries were bad. To start
yeah,
off, 3/5 of our starting offensive line were rookies. I mean, Robert Hunt was already a starter, but
yep,
and then we had another starter. That's a normal starter. That's a rookie. But then Austin Jackson, the rookie out of USC, Michigan, I believe, one of the two, had to come in out of for an injured starter. I mean, he didn't play like amazing. I guess he did allow a sack, but then after that we had Devontae Parker and Jakeem Grant, our two best wide receivers, and then our second best pass catcher in general, Mike Gesicki, went down in the fourth quarter, and then Bobby McCain on the defensive side, and Tony Romo, the announcer for that game, pointed out something like pretty like weird. Bobby McCain, when he was in, the Chiefs were getting shut down. First play he was out was that Tyreek Hill touchdown run. So I mean, maybe Bobby McCain is the glue that holds that defense together. Probably not. That's like Kyle Van Noy, but I just thought that was a coincidence. So anyway, but so injuries was the number one thing. Like if those injuries didn't happen, Mike Gesicki was going off. Jakeem Grant and Devontae Parker both got injured in the first half, so we don't know what they could have done in the second half. Um, and then Bobby McCain, he was in and out of the game. He'd be in for a few plays, then he'd re-aggravate his injury a little bit, and then he would come back in and then out. So it's a mess with him. I believe he's playing this week. I'm not so sure. Devontae Parker, Jakeem Grant, and Mike Gesicki all as of right now questionable, but we'll get to that once we get into the preview of this week. Next thing is the run game. We just could not get that going. That's been a theme all this year, especially without Myles Gaskin. DeAndre Washington, he had a few nice runs, that one for 4, 5, 6 yards, but he only averaged 2.7 yards per carry. That is dismal. That is that's just not good. Like,
It's the dirty work.
yeah, that's
the
like what
ugly
Jordan
ones.
Howard was doing, but I guess better because he was averaging like 1 yard, but whatever.
Yeah, it's the tough runs.
Yeah, but league average is like 4 yards per carry. That's what people shoot for. I'm not so sure why that's the case, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, Tua added a rushing touchdown. I believe that's his first, if not his second, rushing touchdown. But some few good things. Lynn Bowden was a nice surprise. Even with Devontae Parker out and maybe Jakeem Grant, he will be the number one at wide receiver, and he played really well. So like 7 for 82. You know, and he'll actually be in our fantasy portion a little bit later. So anyway, I mean, he'll be a solid number one or even number two, but with Grant and Parker possibly out. But even if Grant does play, I would not be surprised if Lynn Bowden is the number one. He played really well. And then next guy that would come in and replace a guy is Adam Shaheen. If Mike Gesicki is out. Now, Adam Shaheen is definitely not a good tight end by any means. He's a decent blocker, not a great pass catcher, but he has a few touchdowns, like little, rollouts from Ryan Fitzpatrick, just like little zig routes or whatever. So anyway, he's a decent blocker, should help in that run game a little bit, hopefully, with hopefully Savon Ahmed back. So anyway, Adam Shaheen, he'll be a decent replacement. He's no Mike Gesicki, though. He's not going to make any contested catches like he would or anything like that. So anyway, now the defense for Miami played pretty well in the first half or first quarter, but then a few big plays on both sides of the ball were the downfall of that team. The 2 touchdowns that Tyreek Hill had, that one rushing, that one receiving, the safety came in, and then by that time he was already 5 steps ahead of him, so it was an easy throw for Mahomes. So anyway, then on offense, the Tua safety, that is what killed us. If Tua doesn't take that safety on the last drive of that game, if he doesn't take that safety in the third or earlier in the fourth quarter, it would still be a 7-point game in that last drive. And we were driving. We were playing really well. Lynn Bowden, he was making some nice catches. We were driving. Tua was playing well on that last drive. And then we had to settle for the field goal because we were down 9. A touchdown and a 2-point conversion still wouldn't do it. So Brian Flores went for the touchdown, for the field goal. We got it. And then didn't get the onside kick. It was actually pretty funny. As you may remember, my brother Josh is a Cowboys fan, so I texted him and I was like, give the Dolphins some of that Cowboys magic from when they played the Falcons. It was not, that did not happen, obviously, as we lost. But anyway, and then on defense, it was just a few big plays, like I said. Travis Kelce had a few big catches of like 15-plus yards. But that secret weapons that I brought up last week, Mike Gesicki was correct. I'm a legend at predictions. Keep that in mind. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we shut him down in the rushing game, but in the receiving game, he was just breaking tackles because we were going for strips, and he's just so small that he can just duck, and guys just miss tackles. So I said it in the passing game. Take those check downs, break a few tackles, make a few guys miss, and he'll kill us. And that's exactly what he did. And like I said, the keys to the game, getting pressure on Tua and that young offensive line. That's exactly what the Chiefs did. They made him, make a few mistakes. He only threw 1 interception, his first of his career, but he made that. The safety obviously was a result of the pressure that got onto him. So anyway, Kareem, did you watch that game?
No, I did not, but I'm sure it was very interesting.
It was, I was super pumped, in that first quarter. I was like, let's go, we're up 10-0, let's go. Mahomes has already thrown 2 interceptions. One from Byron Jones. I was super happy when Byron Jones got the interception because he's done nothing for us this year. And for like 3 weeks, he was the highest paid cornerback in the NFL, and he's like probably not even top 5. We overpaid for him because he fits our scheme, and Brian Flores, he's a defensive mind. So anyway, he finally got his first interception, so I'm pretty happy about that if he can continue doing that. yeah, that's really it for the Dolphins Chiefs game. Mahomes still did his thing, even with throwing 3 interceptions. Kelsey set an NFL tight end record, like most uh, consecutive 1,000 yard seasons at like 6 or something like that. He showed it with Mahomes and with Alex Smith. He's one of, if not the best tight end. I think he is the best tight end in the NFL. So anyway, that's all I got from that game. Kareem, you said that you watched the Eagles-Saints game in which Jalen Hurts got his first career start and win. Why don't you go ahead and give us the analysis of that game?
Yeah, so this was quite an interesting game, honestly. Obviously the Eagles went up pretty comfortably. They went up quick. I think they were up 10-0 or 17-0. I'm pretty sure it was 17-0. But then once Taysom Hill kind of started getting in the groove, and they got it back to a 3-point game, I was like thinking to myself like, all right, it was nice while it lasted for Jalen Hurts, because everyone's like, oh my God, this guy's insane because he's destroying the Saints right now. But I was like, it's nice while it lasted, but this game's still going to go to the Saints. And then once the Eagles started to pull away, I was like, dang, Jalen Hurts is a real deal. I mean, this guy, he kind of looks like he's like a running back, but he can also throw the ball. I mean, he was doing everything with his legs, moving around in the pocket, scrambling if he needed to. He was very smart with his decision making. That's one thing I found that was very fortunate for Eagles fans, because obviously Carson Wentz, your other quarterback, obviously who's had one of the worst season of his career, has made terrible decision making with pick sixes, interceptions, staying in the pocket too long, taking safeties. So I think if you're an Eagles fan, you really gotta be happy with what you're seeing. And I mean, I'm excited for Jalen Hurts, man. He reminds me a bit of Kyler Murray in the fact that he can throw the balls and can also run with it. So I think if you're an Eagles fan, you got a lot to like. If you're a Saints fan, your jaws dropped. You're thinking, how did we lose to the Eagles? But I mean, hey, this team, this culture in there in Philly has turned around with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I didn't. I started to watch that game and then I stopped, and then they tried to make a last second comeback with the onside kick attempt. It looked like the Saints were gonna get it, and then someone for the Eagles, I'm not so sure who, kind of messed it up a little bit. He could have easily got the Saints player had it. Eagles player came out of nowhere. Just hit my mic and got it. So anyway, the Eagles. Next year. Obviously they're not gonna do anything this year, but next year, get that defense healthy. Maybe get a new strength and conditioning coach, because they did suffer a lot of injuries on that defense. Maybe you want to chalk it up to no no preseason or whatever, but maybe they need a new strength and conditioning coach. But anyway, yeah, Eagles come out with a win. Very impressive for Jalen Hurts in his first start. And now on to the minor notes of Week 14. First of all, Dan Bailey needs to be cut right now. He cost the Vikings that game. He missed 4 field goals, was it? It was 4, yeah. 4 field goals and a PAT. That is 13 points. Want to know how many points they lost by? 12. That would have won them the game and possibly made almost pretty much clinched those, maybe clinched the 7th seed. Now, obviously not mathematically clinched or whatever, but in the theoretical sense, clinched that 7th seed for the NFC. But no, Dan Bailey blew it. He should be cut. I'm not sure why he wasn't. So anyway, if that's Bill Belichick, he's cut. We all know how Bill Belichick likes to deal with his kickers. If you miss an important kick, you're out of here. You may be one of the best in the NFL, but if you miss one clutch kick, you're out of there. So anyway, Dan Bailey needs to be cut. Next game, we have Andy Dalton in his revenge game versus Cincinnati in Cincinnati. This is probably a very emotional game for him. He spent his first, 10 years? Not 10, but 8 or so years in Cincinnati. Obviously then leaving to become a backup quarterback to Dak Prescott. Now he's getting the shot to play with the injury to Dak, and he played pretty well, not the greatest stats, but what really won the game for the Cowboys were the fumbles on the defensive side of the ball. I think they forced like 3 fumbles on the Bengals. I think Giovanni Bernard, someone, and then I'm not sure who else fumbled. But anyway, I mean, that was the reason why they won that game. Maybe if they don't get 2 of those, maybe the Bengals score on those drives, and then they, my bad, and then they, win the game. So, that was an important part of them winning. Clearly, is just very obvious. So anyway, next game we have the football team taking on the 49ers. Chase Young gets his first of hopefully many career NFL touchdowns. A 50-ish yard scoop and score for the rookie second overall pick to the Washington football team. But that was not the big story out of this game. It was Alex Smith getting injured, and I think it was a left calf strain. He will not play versus the Seahawks, and that means Dwayne Haskins will start, one of the biggest busts so far since, Jameis Winston. Granted, it's only been 5 years, but still, he's just been horrible in his career. Obviously, he was benched for Kyle Allen, and then, once Kyle Allen got hurt, they went to Alex Smith instead of him. He was a third string for a while, and then he was the second string. But anyway, he will start, so maybe this is a chance for him to turn his career around. Just one game may be able to do it for Dwayne Haskins, and, maybe just an important win versus the Seahawks, and the football team can be taken seriously. Obviously, we all know that they are a, good team because, they're winning a division. Granted, it's only by 1 game, and they only have, 5 wins, or maybe 6 wins now. But still, they are a very good defense. They just didn't have their stuff together in the beginning of the season. So anyway, Dwayne Haskins is going to start for the Washington football team. I'm excited to see how it goes. They're probably not going to win, though. Next game that we just talked about, Jalen Hurts get his first career start. And then Browns-Ravens, this is another game that you watched that I know you want to go ahead and break down. So I'm going to give it back to you for the one of the craziest games of the year. May go down as the craziest game of the year, even crazier than the Super Bowl, maybe. It's too early to tell.
Yeah, so, Roger Goodell is so happy he put this game out Monday night. This is the game of the year so far, and with not a lot of time left to go.
Imagine if it was just a normal 1 o'clock game. Yeah, imagine.
So happy he put this one on national television. So let's run down some stats for this game. Baker Mayfield had 343 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, a rush touchdown and a pick, 360-plus yards in total. Lamar Jackson had 163 air yards, a touchdown, and 124 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb, not disappointing at all, 17 rushes, 82 yards, but 2 touchdowns. Obviously, for him, 82 seems a bit mediocre, but when he's putting up 2 touchdowns, you're getting the production you want. Kareem Hunt has had a really, really good game from a passing standpoint. He had 6 rushes, 33 yards, a rushing touchdown, and and 2 passing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's one.
Receiving.
J.K. Dobbins, 13 rushes, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Gus Edwards, 7 rushes, 49 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And for the Ravens backfield, this is one game upon many where it's really been J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and Mark Ingram has kind of been lost. But Jarvis Landry, 6 receptions, 52 yards. Rashard Higgins, 6 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who has blossomed into a really, really good wide receiver option for this Cleveland football team, had 3 receptions for 74 yards, so obviously a big play machine. Marquise Brown, who had a very bad game, just like the Steelers, he had 2 receptions, 50 yards, and a touchdown. So, some things to notice about this game. The Browns had 7 fumbles and returned them all and got all of them back. So, of course, Stefanski scratching his head. Ball security drills at practice this week, I'm sure of it. 89 combined points in this game. Obviously, the Browns came back from behind from a 14-point deficit. Obviously, we just talked about this being the game of the year so far and the best Monday night game. since the Chiefs versus Rams, it's arguably better, but Patrick Mahomes had six touchdowns in that one. Some things for the Browns. Myles Garrett is injured, but it's not serious, so he will be playing against the Giants. But some really bad news for this Browns offensive line. Wyatt Teller, the star guard for this team on the right side, suffered a high ankle sprain and will be out for what looks like the rest of the season. Thankfully, the Browns don't have too hard of a schedule. The only real noticeable team on that is the Steelers. But yeah, so obviously Browns go Sunday night. They're playing the Giants, who this is a bit of a very weird game. Obviously, really bad news for the Giants. James Bradbury, their star secondary player, will be out. Freddie Kitchens calling the plays. Colt McCoy, obviously ex-Brown quarterback, starting quarterback, with Daniel Jones out. So this is going to be a very weird game. Expect a lot of trick plays from Freddie Kitchens. So, Stefanski, he should just look at what Freddie did last year and try to see what he did. Now, I don't think that much is going to change. I think he's still going to use Jason Garrett's playbook. But, you've got to be prepared because this is Freddie Kitchens. He's known for the trick plays. So we'll see what happens. But Ravens win a big game that keeps their playoff hopes alive because they pretty much had to win out if they wanted to make the playoffs. Now, this obviously is nowhere near being a must-win for the Browns, but if you did secure a playoff spot with a win. So, obviously, it's a heartbreaking loss for Cleveland. Justin Tucker nails a 55-yarder in crunch time with a couple seconds left. Browns tried a high school trickery, ended up going in the back of the end for safety. He crushed a lot of bettors, who had the Ravens +3. Just like the Texans game when everybody had the Browns +10, because that obviously would have made it 17-10 when Nick Chubb stepped out. The Browns are crushing the bettors. Bettors, do not bet on the Browns because they're crushing your dreams this year.
Yeah, back to that, Stefanski and Kitchens note. Got to take them notes if you're Stefanski, this week. Obviously, Stefanski has proven himself to be a top Coach of the Year candidate, and, if he can go out here and, show that, he's a smart guy, he studies Kitchens' playbook, and that he'll be able to shut them down. So anyway, that's gonna do it for the recaps. That semi preview of next week's Browns Giants game. Anyway, let's head into the top performers of Week 14. Last time we were together and we did this. I did the defense, you did the offense. So let's flip it this time. I'll do the offense, you'll do the defense. All right, let's get right into it. At quarterback, we have Baker Mayfield, like you said, 28 for 47. Not a great completion percentage, but we'll look past that. 343 yards, two passing touchdowns, and an INT. Then on the ground, he added 5 for 23 and one. A very good day for Baker Mayfield, for the last couple of weeks versus the Titans, now versus the Ravens. Maybe finally looking like that first overall pick. Maybe you heard what I said, a couple weeks ago when I said he wasn't worth the first overall pick, when Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and, other quarterbacks. That was that draft class, right? Or am I just being... Okay, that's what I thought. When Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, not Sam Darnold, but anyway, Josh Rosen,
Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
No, Drew Lock wasn't in that. That was last year.
Yeah, that was last year. Anyway, onto the two running backs. These ones are pretty obvious. Running back 1, Derrick Henry. Oh man, this man cannot be stopped. 26 for 215 and 2 touchdowns. Maybe that's a good stat line for 2 games combined for any other running back, but that's just what Derrick Henry does. He gets almost 30 carries a game, 200. He's had 3 or 4 games with more than 200 yards rushing. This man is insane. in my opinion, the best running back in the NFL. Because obviously you have your Kamaras and your McCaffreys who are really important in the passing game, but strictly on a running standpoint, Derrick Henry is the best. I'm sorry, Kareem, for Nick Chubb. He is number 2. Speaking of number 2, running back number 2, we're going to give this to Jonathan Taylor, the rookie out of Wisconsin, I believe, for the Indianapolis Colts. A very good stat line for him. 20 rushing attempts, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yet again, maybe this is a good stat line for 2 weeks combined, but no, Jonathan Taylor did it in 1 week. Now, most of those yards and one of those touchdowns came off of a 50-yard touchdown run, but let's not forget that even without it, he would have had 19 rushes for 100 yards and a touchdown. That's still pretty solid, but just tack on that 50-yard touchdown run, and you got yourself the running back number 2 for this week. Any other week that might be number 1, but a guy named Derrick Henry exists, so I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor. Wide receiver number 1, we're going to give this to the guy who just recently took over the lead for catches and receiving yards in the Bills versus the Broncos game. Stephon Diggs has been easily Josh Allen's favorite target, and he showed it last Sunday, catching 10 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown. He had another touchdown, I believe, tonight, another 100-plus yard game, I believe. The Bills' offense was firing on all cylinders tonight versus the Broncos, and as they clinched a AFC East division title, first year since 2007, because Tom Brady had the torn ACL, that someone other than the Patriots have won the division. Now at wide receiver number 2, we're gonna give this to T.Y. Hilton. This was Kareem and I. We were going back and forth. Should we give this to Hilton or to DeAndre Hopkins, who had 130 yards but no touchdowns? But we decided to give it to T.Y. Hilton, and here is why. If we were to give this as a value, he meant more to that team, because you take away those 2 touchdowns, and boom, you've got yourself a ball game right there I believe they were in Vegas, versus the Raiders and Colts. So anyway, we decided to give it to T.Y. Hilton, who had 5 catches, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns, finally showing, that he can play with someone other than Andrew Luck. He had all those great years with Andrew Luck, and then last year was a little step down with Jacoby Brissett. But, he last couple of weeks with Phillip Rivers, they finally find that connection. Too bad it's only a 1-year deal for Rivers. Next, we have the tight end. We're going to give this to Travis Kelce. Like I said, he destroyed the Miami Dolphins. 8 receptions, 136 yards, and 1 touchdown. That touchdown was so dumb. Don't even get me started. We had Mahomes locked down, and the Van Ginkel came in. He crashed too hard, and then left Kelce wide open. You don't do that versus Mahomes. But anyway, back to Travis Kelce. Monster game for him, and let's give it over to Kareem for the defensive top performers.
Alright, so obviously, as we already have mentioned in our small recap of the Washington football game, we have Chase Young, defensive line player of the week, in our choosing. Obviously, a big touchdown and a sack, big scoop and run for him. And now, linebacker of the week, this is a no-brainer. Arizona Cardinals, Hassan Reddick. I was watching this game as well for a little bit, and oh my, was that Giants offensive line so soft. 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. Hassan Reddick obviously making history for that franchise. This was crazy. Obviously, the Cardinals went and played the Giants and honestly put them in their place, because everybody was in the hype of the Giants after they beat the Seahawks, but the Cardinals took over from there and put them in their place. And secondary, if you guys watched that Colts game, you would have seen Kenny Moore with his sick one-hand interception. He pretty much just went up and snagged it. He made it look so effortless and so clean. It was very, very special, because Kenny Moore's a very special cornerback in this league.
Another guy that had a really good one-handed interception was Xavier Howard. Yet it was on Tyreek Hill, short guy. And then Kenny Moore was covering Darren Waller, who was 6'6". Like, holy moly, he just went up and snagged that. So anyway, that's gonna do it for the top performers. If you like the up-tempo version of this, let us know. Maybe we'll keep it. If you like the old version where we went a little bit slower, also let us know. Also, I'm trying to, get this a little bit more up-tempo while also keeping it, where you can still understand it. If you like that, also let us know. Also let us know if you hate it, if you don't care, if we should stick with it or not. We love to hear your feedback, and we will take that into consideration. Now, like I said earlier, we are going to be doing since the fantasy playoffs are around for fantasy football, we will be giving the sleepers of the week. We will be doing enough to fill a roster, and looking over my notes, I forgot a defense, so I'm sorry. If you were looking for a defense, you should have your defense figured out by now if you're in the playoffs. Let's be honest here. Like, I got the Miami defense, because I'm a Dolphins fan. Gotta rep the team. So anyway, why don't I do the quarterback and the running backs, and then you'll do the wide receivers and tight end. So at quarterback, I'm gonna give this to Jalen Hurts. 29. This is off Yahoo's fantasy, by the way. 29% rostered, playing Arizona, which has an average defense now after Hassan Reddick's performance. Maybe you're a little scared of him, but he played a much better defense than the Saints last week and got a good amount of points. So maybe if your quarterback gets injured, you're in a super flex league, two quarterback league, and he's available. He is definitely worth a pickup. He could be a very solid play for quarterback. Running back, we're gonna give this to Lynn Bowden. He's 27% rostered. Can also play wide receiver. So if you need wide receiver help, he's also there. But as the likely wide receiver 1 or 2, he's gonna get a lot of targets. He played really well last week, and in a PPR league, where you get a full point per catch, if he gets 7 or 8 catches like he did last week, and he'll probably get more because he'll get more playing time. That's near 10 catches right there. That's 10 points plus, let's say 80 or so yards. That's another 8 points. If you're in standard scoring, and then plus a touchdown, boom, you've got yourself, close to a 20-point game. So he could definitely be a solid play at running back or wide receiver. Running back number 2, we're going to give this to Jeff Wilson. Now, he's a little bit on the higher end at 44% roster, but there's a good chance that he is still available in your league. He was playing very well versus before that injury versus the Patriots. He already had 3 touchdowns, and versus a Cowboys defense, which is bad. Very bad, especially versus the run. And, we all know how much the 49ers love to run the ball. Mostert is going to get tired, so, you bring in Jeff Wilson, maybe sneaks in a few short touchdowns, maybe breaks off a long run. Also in the passing game, screens, he could definitely be a solid play. So, Kareem, I'm going to give this over to you for the wide receivers and tight end.
Okay, so for the wide receivers and the tight ends, we are going to go with Russell Gage, who is 14% fantasy owned, with Julio. Obviously, bad news for Falcons fans. Julio Jones is out. But he's getting a good amount of targets, and he could be a big reward for any fantasy owner that decides to pick him up. For wide receiver 2, we are going to give it to the Broncos, this wide receiver who is kind of blossoming as a more reliable target for them. Tim Patrick, who has been a big target for Locke this year, and versus the Bills, which obviously just happened, he could be a high reward play. For tight end, we are going to give it to the Rams' Tyler Higbee, who versus the Jets could be. Rams. You saw what they did to the Pats. They have to destroy the Jets. And I mean, we're all anticipating it, right? So if you pick up a guy like Tyler Higbee, who is a pretty good, talented tight end for Goff to throw the ball to, he can find the end zone on a nice goal line route, something like a stick or a fade, because he's big. I mean, that's your fantasy points right there. And that is going to wrap it up for the fantasy sleepers for the playoffs.
And, if we were to have recorded this before the Bills game and gotten it up and you'd listen to it, we're sorry if you played Tim Patrick. He only got a 4.4 points in a PPR league. If that's, in a standard league, that's, barely, 3 points. So, I'm sorry, you might have just lost your fantasy matchup if you played Tim Patrick. But you can't blame us, because this is being recorded after the game. So, anyway... like Cream said, that's gonna do it. Now on to the Week 15 league preview, I guess. Only one game, the marquee matchup of the week. And like I said last week, not every time our favorite teams are gonna get it, as proven with this matchup right here. Chiefs versus Saints. It's a good matchup, but it could be better. Obviously, big news out of New Orleans today. Michael Thomas on IR. This is not good. Who's going to run those slant routes now? Oh no, who's going to run the slant routes? Anyway, I'll do the injuries for the teams and the keys to winning. I'll do the injuries and secret weapons, and Kareem, you'll do keys to the game. Let's get right into the injuries for the Chiefs. No notable ones except for Eric Fisher, the starting left tackle, is questionable. Now I have not really looked at the injury report. I did the other day yesterday when I was researching this, but I'm not so sure if he's been upgraded to active or anything like that. But as of right now, as I know, he is questionable, which would be a big loss for the Chiefs. I mean, he's been a very solid tackle for them this season. He's caught a touchdown pass even, so you never know. But if he is out, look for Cameron Jordan to, take advantage of that, just like the Chiefs did versus the Dolphins' young offensive line last week. So anyway, that's really it for the Chiefs. Now on to the Saints. Like I said earlier at the start, Michael Thomas is out. He's on IR. That means he will miss at minimum 3 weeks, which means the rest of the regular season, who's going to run the slant routes? It's a crisis in New Orleans right now. But more on a serious note, I believe it was some sort of foot injury. So anyway, I even with Breeze playing, which I'll talk about later, I don't think they have a shot at winning this game anymore. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the league for only running one route. And I'm sorry, Devontae Parker and Michael Thomas, they go at it sometimes, and I'm obviously on Devontae Parker's side. So anyway, they no longer have a shot at winning this game, in my opinion. Another fantasy sleeper. Granted, he's a high percent owned, but maybe not start. So if he's on your bench, Emmanuel Sanders, go ahead and plug him in there as a wide receiver option. He could easily be a solid, wide receiver number 1 or 2 on your team. Back to the fantasy help. But, Kareem, why don't you go to the keys to the game, and then I will come back with the secret weapons of the game.
All right, so if you're the Chiefs, you want to use the momentum, that you had last week. You beat a very good Dolphins defense, and obviously the Saints didn't look very good last week against the Eagles. But, the Chiefs, they kind of got your heart rate up a bit last week, so they need to get off to a fast start and never take their foot off the accelerator. For the Saints, obviously, that terrorizing Chiefs defense with Chris Jones, you want to make him get the ball out quick. You don't want him dropping back. Obviously, he's not the best at escaping the pocket. And Chris Jones, one of the best defensive tackles in the game, is very hungry. Alvin Kamara, you got to get the ball to him, and you got to make things happen, whether, because he's still – I know everybody talks about how he's one of the best receiving backs in the league besides Christian McCaffrey, but he's still a great runner, no doubt, so you want to get him involved as much as you can. On the defensive side for the Saints, obviously, on paper, they've got a really good defense. They've got, obviously, pretty much, Malcolm Jenkins, Cameron Jordan. They've got a lot. They've got a lot of very, very good weapons that haven't really done great or anything really to notice this year. But if you're the defense, you've got to make him confused. Obviously, if you're looking on film, if you're on the defensive side, you've got to see what the Dolphins did last week, because they really had Mahomes kind of like he was thinking a lot and wasn't just doing what his first sense did, because if he locks onto a target last week and that guy's covered, he's confused, and obviously they would show blitz a lot in Miami and they wouldn't do it. Mahomes forces a bad throw and throws a pick, which he had a lot of problems with last week, trying to force some things, which is not very Mahomes like. So those are the keys to the game for both teams. I'm going to give this off to Andrew for his secret weapons of the game.
Okay, now the secret weapons, you may, know of these guys, but, they're still secret weapons. For the Chiefs, we're going to give this to Sammy Watkins. The Saints secondary got exposed last week, and now, by Jalen Hurts. So, with Moshawn Lattimore being on, Tyreek Hill, and, and then maybe another corner on Travis Kelce, and then maybe doubling or triple teaming those guys. Sammy Watkins will be able to, take those, like nice, easy, middle, short to middle routes, that will, really be able to pick apart that Saints defense. Now on the Saints, I'm gonna give this one to Jared Cook. Now you may be wondering, he was having a solid year, why is he on this list? But with Taysom Hill, he did not do much. He only had like 1, maybe 2 touchdowns with, like the 4 or 5 weeks that Taysom Hill was a starter. Maybe, finally getting that connection going last week. But, with Breeze back, we saw his numbers with him, with Breeze and Cook in the beginning of the season, so maybe they can be able to replicate that, find a few holes in the Chiefs' defense, and, maybe if Jared Cook can have a good game, then maybe there is a chance. Maybe he'll get, that opportunity to shine without Michael Thomas again. So that's going to do it for the preview. Now on to the news. Like we've said before, Breeze is back. This is very important. You want a veteran guy to go in and beat and play the Chiefs. Now this is at New Orleans, so maybe a little home field advantage. But with Breeze back, you know what you're gonna get. He's not gonna be inconsistent like Taysom Hill. Now, if Breeze were to re-aggravate that lung injury or that rib injury, Taysom Hill would be able to come in and, maybe light a spark for the Saints. But, Breeze back, you know what you're going to get. So, happy for him to be back, after suffering that, very scary injury. Next, that one we've already talked about, Dwayne Haskins. Like we said, he's a bust. But what if this is his opportunity to turn it around? So anyway, next we have Rigoberto Sanchez. Now you may be wondering, who is this guy? This is the punter for the Indianapolis Colts. He had a brain tumor, or maybe it wasn't brain, but it was a tumor removed, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he is going to play on Sunday. Now this is just an awe-inspiring story. No one, like, when I saw the reports about him having a tumor removed, I was like, oh man, he may never play again. But here he is, doing the punting and kickoff for the Indianapolis Colts this week versus a divisional matchup versus the Texans. Now, the Thursday night game, we had the Chargers and Raiders. Derek Carr is out for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. Now, I think if the Raiders are eliminated from the playoffs, they won't risk it. Derek Carr has shown this year in John Gruden's offense that he's finally, living up to that hype that we saw a few years ago, back when the Raiders were going to make the playoffs. But then, he got hurt again. So, anyway, he has a left groin injury, very scary. Hopefully he comes back. plays pretty well next year. But in the meantime, Marcus Mariota will get the starting job. It was either him or Nathan Peterman, and we all know Nathan Peterman, or if you want to, play along with the meme, Nathan Peter Goat. Anyway, Marcus Mariota should and will be the starter. He's a great scrambler. He's not the greatest at throwing on the run or anything like that, but he had a few nice passes in the Thursday game versus the Chargers in relief of Carr. Maybe he wins one game out of their remaining now only 2 games that they have, because I even with Derek Carr, I would not see the Raiders beating the Dolphins, especially with the Dolphins, needing that win to get into the playoffs. So, maybe he comes in and wins week 17 at the most.
Hey, Andrew?
Yeah?
So, I just have a question about the Dolphins real quick. I hate to interrupt, but do they have to win out?
No, they do not. I believe
they got a tough schedule.
It's not Bills, that. They do have the Bills.
No. Patriots is fine. Bills is what you really like. Tough schedule.
And then the Raiders now. They do need to win. They need to win at least 2 out of the 3.
And then beat the Pats.
We can beat the Pats and the Raiders. Let's say we go 2-3 in our last 3 games. I think that's enough for the 2-1 in our next 3 games. That's a very because.
I don't think he'll have a problemo with that.
Yeah. Now the only reason why I'm still nervous that we could miss is because the Ravens beat the Browns this past week.
I'm sorry, man.
You let me down, man. Come on now.
No offense, man. We almost came back.
So anyway, after the Browns losing, that really put some stress on some Dolphins fans. I'm not too worried. Even with the Ravens' super easy schedule, all we need to do is beat the Pats and the Raiders, and we'll be fine. Now, since the Bills did just clinch the division, maybe they don't play their starters. Maybe Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs don't play unless there's an opportunity to move up to the 2 seed or anything like that. But if they're locked into the 2 seed or locked into the 3 seed, I don't see any reason for them to risk Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and anyone like that to get injured unless they want to play spoiler to the Dolphins trying to get into the playoffs. Now, the big news story out of this week is, you may have heard of them as the TikTok brothers, maybe. I don't know if that's a thing. Let's get it started. Juju Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool. They've started a thing dancing on the mid-field logos before games. I mean, when this first started, I'm like, alright, the first week, alright, fine, it's the first week. Juju's known to do this type of stuff, but it's just gotten out of hand at this point. You can't go out there and act all this cocky and then just get obliterated, because that's what they did versus the Bills. It's just embarrassing. It's unacceptable because it's a trend, it's popular or whatever. But it's not. It's the moral of this that they're doing it. Cool, you get your likes or your followers or whatever you want.
You lose a football game.
You lose a football game, and you don't even play well. They got obliterated by the Bills.
And you keep dropping passes, man.
And that's another problem. I saw, I guess it's a meme, I guess it's an infographic, some sort, but it was, it said, TikTok star Chase Claypool has made more TikToks this season than receptions. He's made 54 TikToks, whether that's be on the field or in the locker room. It doesn't matter. That should not be your personality. Your personality should be who you are on the field and the type of guy that you are off the field. In interviews. Interacting with fans, not making TikToks. This is just unacceptable. It's too much for me to rant on. If it wasn't 9:07 p.m., I would go on an even lengthier rant. Kareem, what do you have to say about this? I am just pretty mad.
That stat you brought up there where he's got 54 receptions this season, that's not great. That's not anything to be proud of. You're only averaging about, 16 games a season. That's That's like 3 or 4 receptions a game, depending on if you look at it average so far. Obviously, he probably will bump that up if he does. If that whole Steelers receiving core stops dropping those super easy passes, but I
Yeah,
mean,
drop
like,
pat.
if you win and you do that TikTok, fine. You get it. You win. But, I mean, if you lose to the point where it's not like you played good and you just lost a close one. You didn't play well and you lost and you're going to get cocky like that. I mean, just save it. So, like, I mean, obviously, you lost the game. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You don't got to be cocky like that. Plus, I mean, you're not even playing good. Your team has lost 2 in a row now, which started off 11-0. I mean, this is really it's pretty childish, honestly, for something like this to happen.
Yeah, it needs to stop. It's just an embarrassment to the team. I'm sure, like Big Ben, James Conner, because it's only that wide receiver core. It's only Juju, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington. It's only them. It's not anyone on the defense. It's not anyone on the, in the running back group. It's the wide receiver, and here's the crazy part: they're the one losing the games. They're the ones dropping the wide open passes. They are the reason they lost to the Washington football team. They weren't the reason they lost to the Buffalo Bills, but they are still a big part as to why they are dropping so many easy passes. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, like I said, if it wasn't 9:09 p.m., I would go on for hours upon hours about this. I mean, I'm done. It's childish, like you said. It's immature. They need to stop right now. It's just, it's beyond fixable at this point because they've already created a whole they're too dedicated to it at this point. They can't just stop 12 weeks into the season or whatever week it is, 14, 15. I don't care. They've already done it enough that they can't just stop. Everyone's flaming them. They know that everyone is mad at them, But I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to you do you or whatever you want to say. I mean, yeah, it's bad. It's bad. They need to stop. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm done. If you're a Steelers fan, let me know what you think. Even if you're not, also let us know in the comments.
Yeah. So I've just received news that Randy Moss has made a very controversial statement, and I know what I think of it. I'd like to ask you. So
What did he say?
He says he's the best wide receiver of all time, and he doesn't stop there. He doesn't say Jerry Rice is the second best. He says Jerry Rice is fourth, maybe third best of all time at wide receiver. So
Excuse me?
I just thought I'd ask you. I mean, I think everybody else thinks he's the best receiver of all time, which I do stand by that argument. So yeah, I just thought I'd ask what you think.
Okay. I mean, granted, Randy Moss, he's always been known as a guy who's gonna be like, yeah, I'm the best type of guy, no one can stop me, He once had 3 receptions for 127 yards and 3 touchdowns in one game.
Swaggy.
He's all about that swag. So anyway, I mean, I get why he said it. I mean, you can easily, I'm not gonna say easily, but maybe on a talent level, he was the best because he was just so big, so strong. He reminds, he was DK Metcalf before DK Metcalf. Now he is better than DK Metcalf. Let me get that straight. DK Metcalf is also no Megatron. Now that's an interesting topic. Where would you put Megatron in your list? Would you put him top 10, top 5?
I'm putting Megatron top 10. I don't know if I'd put him top 5.
If he does, he is number 5.
Yes. So who could we put here?
I would go Rice number 1, Moss number 2.
I don't know. Not Steve Largent or anything.
Yeah,
Like
I'm just trying to think. I said before, it's late. Maybe we'll get to this. Fitzgerald could be top 5, I would say. But yeah, like we said, it's late. We'll probably. How about this? We go through our top 5 or maybe 10 if we want to. Probably 5. Our personal rankings next week. It's
I
just we
like that
haven't done
idea.
enough research. I never knew about this until you told me. So
Yeah, this
anyway,
just happened
it just
because
happened.
he's on like the post game pregame shows for Fox.
Yeah, for Fox. So anyway, yeah, we definitely know Rice is number one, Moss is number two. That's pretty much a given. Maybe Fitzgerald number three, but anyway, like I said, we'll get to this next week on the New Flame Sports podcast. And that's really it for the NFL. A lot of stuff that we wanted to talk about. You know, oh, two guys on my fantasy team, Robert Tonian and Aaron Jones, have both scored touchdowns. So let's go. I'm currently
I mean,
beating my.
Robert Tonyan has played really well this
I
season.
know I'm currently beating my brother. Let's go.
He's the Packers' own George Kittle.
Yeah, he's not
He's a
a.
really good run blocker and like stiff arms people to like through their throats. So.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, that's really it for the NFL. Now the only MLB thing that really happened, and Kareem, you can commentate on this because it's not necessarily has to do with the NFL, but no big rumors, no big trades, no big signings. Trevor Bauer, JT Realmuto still have not signed, but the big news story is that the Negro Leagues and the MLB have combined. For a long time they were two separate leagues and their stats were separate, and they were just two different things. But now in this past week they have now made the decision to combine to record the Negro Leagues stats as part of MLB stats, and I think this has been a thing that's had to happen for a long time. It just doesn't make sense as to why they waited so long to do it. Obviously with the Washington football team changing their name, the Cleveland Indians also are changing their name. Maybe the Chicago Blackhawks are next, but maybe obviously this was the right move by the MLB. They had to do this. They should have done it a lot sooner, but at least it's done rather late than never, is what I'm going to say on this. I think this, I've said this so many times now, but it is so important that the MLB has finally done this. It's that next step that they took, to commemorate these players that, never got a shot at the MLB because they had a different color skin tone, which is very unfortunate. After Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, more and more African American players were let into the MLB, and that kind of ended the Negro Leagues. But now in 2020, a year like no other, at least something good is happening. The Negro League stats are now combining with the MLB and being recorded as part of MLB history. Kareem, if you've got anything that you want to add, feel free. I'm gonna give this up to you for pretty much the rest of the show.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously not an MLB fan if I had to pick Blue Jays or Indians.
Hey,
But
they're not the
I
Indians
mean,
anymore.
this is really really surprising. It took so long. I mean, segregation obviously is a big part of U.S. history. It's been a big problem, and still in 2020 we're dealing with racial bias. So I find it very surprising the MLB decides to do this now. Um, Almost like
They should have done this a
it's
long
been
time
a
ago.
really long time since that color barrier was broken, and the MLB has waited a really long time. And it's like it's not fair to the players who played in the Negro leagues because it's not like they didn't make an MLB team. Just the MLB did not allow them to play because of their skin. And obviously, it. I mean, there were so many really really great players in the Negro leagues that would have been perfect for MLB teams, but I mean, racism was a big problem back then, and unfortunately, it still is today. And this is the world we live in. And I mean, things like this have got to be done quicker. So it's very surprising to me that the MLB took this long to do it. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's good that they did do it, but they should have done this thing way sooner because we're in 2020. Obviously, 1968 was when MLK obviously had his big speech and segregation pretty much was lifted. So it's been way too long for something like this to happen. It's unfair. It's not right, but it's good that they still did it. Still did it.
Okay, as I was just running through my head and thinking about all the stuff we need to do, we forgot one crucial part of the show. We surely love doing these. Is the NFL game picks for Week 15. So we're gonna go rapid fire because I kind of thought the show is over at this point. But I'm very happy to keep recording. I love doing this, Kareem. I'm not so sure about you, but it sure seems like you do. So anyway, let's get right into the game picks now. Thursday night game, I had the Raiders. I lost that game. Kareem, who did you have for that game?
I also had the Raiders because obviously you didn't expect
Derek Carr to get injured or anything
Derek
like
Carr
that.
to get injured and that crazy sequence at the end of that game. So yeah, I had the Raiders win that game, and obviously I was wrong.
Yeah. I had the Bills and the Packers winning today's game Saturday. You're seeing this on Sunday, by the way. But yeah, Saturday's games I had the Bills. They were just a better team. We'll go more in depth in the games that happen tomorrow, and then also the Packers. Yet again, they were just a top level team, top 3 team in my opinion. I think it goes Chiefs, Packers. I'm not so sure about number 3. Man,
Saints, New Orleans.
Maybe the Saints. Yeah, I'd probably go Saints, to be honest, at number 3.
Bills.
No, honestly. Chiefs, Packers, Bills as my top 3 in power rankings. So who did you have in the Packers game and the Bills game as well?
It makes seem like I'm copying you, but these are just no-brainer picks.
Yeah,
really.
obviously. Yeah.
Bills, obviously. Obviously.
They're just so good. They have Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, who played well today.
Cole
Beasley, I know. Like I said, Cole Beasley. I have always been a fan of Cole Beasley.
Play catch.
Yeah, it was the
Cowboys.
Yeah, for the Cowboys. I think they were playing the Giants on Thanksgiving. So anyway, yeah, and then the Packers, just another no-brainer pick. So anyway, let's get ahead into Sunday and Monday's games, and we will also be picking Thursday's games as well, just because we record these on Friday or Saturday, so we can't do those. So anyway, let's go Pats and Dolphins in Miami. Rookie QBs in their careers are 7-21 versus Bill Belichick. Let's chalk it up to 8-21. Pats are just not good this year. Dolphins are. Their defense is top level. Pats not so much. Cam Newton is washed. He can't throw a ball. And now without Damian Harris, their leading rusher, they're gonna have to rely on Sony Michel as their number 1. In that ferocious D-line for the Dolphins should be enough to get it done. So I think Tua on his first 7 starts goes 5-2. That is ridiculous right there. Who do you got for that game?
Once again, may seem like I'm copying you, but I gotta go with the Dolphins. Cam Newton has played terrible decision making this year, terrible passing the ball this year. And that Dolphins defense has messed some quarterbacks up this year. So,
they forced Mahomes to throw 3 interceptions. So anyway,
which is unheard of to the max.
He had 2 interceptions heading into that game. He had was
it back-to-back drives where he had an interception?
I think it was punt, interception, punt, interception, but it's the same thing pretty much. So anyway, next game. This game is an actual toss-up. So my family does the same thing where we pick the winners, but we actually keep track of who all we pick. And I think I literally flipped a coin for this game. Heads was 49ers, tails was Cowboys. It landed tails, so I went Cowboys. I have no clue who's going to win this game, to be honest. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a messy game. I think I actually would go with the Cowboys just because they have some semblance of an offense, unlike the 49ers. So anyway, I went with Cowboys. Obviously, 2 storied franchises, but this is a coin toss. I have no clue.
So I'm gonna disagree, even though you flipped a coin. I'm gonna go with the 49ers.
You're disagreeing with the coin.
Jeff Wilson.
He Mostert.
So
you know.
yeah, I'm going
However,
on
Debo
both.
Samuel's out for the rest of the year, so I mean,
He
maybe.
is. I'm still going with the 49ers. I mean,
Yeah,
Richard Sherman really has had nothing to talk about,
yeah.
but
I mean, his most noteworthy thing of the year is that he's not returning to the 49ers next year. Maybe he goes back to the Seahawks and his
yeah,
career. Who knows? So,
maybe. But I'm gonna go with the 49ers. I
yeah,
think that run game. I mean, the Cowboys have a terrible, terrible run defense.
yeah,
Browns had over 300 yards rushing. Ravens had over 250, if I'm not mistaken. I think around 290 actually.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
I got to go with the 49ers. Obviously, pound the rock, stick to your roots, and just
yeah,
win a
yeah.
messy football game.
Yeah. Seahawks and Washington football team, like we said, Dwayne Haskins is starting. So this is going to be an easy win for the Seahawks. I mean, I don't think the Seahawks win the division anymore with the Rams, how they're playing. But I mean, they should be able to get the 5 seed, you know. However, if this is a potential playoff matchup right here. Washington football team versus Seattle Seahawks in Washington. And with Alex Smith, I honestly believe the football team would have a chance at winning, but with Dwayne Haskins, not so much. I'm going with the Seahawks on this one.
Yeah, I think if Alex Smith was playing, we'd have much more to talk about and much more debate. But
This
this is
might have
Dwayne
been the marquee
Haskins.
matchup if Alex Smith was playing.
I mean, but this is Dwayne Haskins. I mean, come on.
Come on
He
now.
has played terrible. Got benched by Alex Smith in Week 4, if I'm not mistaken, or something like
Yeah,
that.
like week 5, something like that.
But I mean, how are you really? I mean, come on, Seahawks totally. That Seahawks defense, even though they did lose to the Giants, that Seahawks defense didn't play terrible. They let up 30, 40 points. They let up 17. It was a very awkward score, by the way, 17 to 12. But,
Yeah, very awkward.
yeah, Seahawks gonna win this game with
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins. Got
Yeah.
a very early Christmas present for them
Yeah.
to play Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah,
And
so. Alright.
a little. Is Antonio Gibson playing? Is he still hurt?
I think he's out again.
Oh, if he's out, yeah.
Yeah, there's no shot at all. Next game, another coin toss. However, I did not flip a coin for this one. Bears Vikings. I'm going with the Vikings just because I don't think the Bears are the team that we saw last week versus the Texans. That was just a fluke game. Deshaun Watson got injured. Very sad. You know. However, he will be playing this week for the Texans, but still, I just don't think the Bears are that good. So I'm gonna go with the Vikings on this one. It's another coin toss, but I'm gonna go with the Vikings winning a close game.
So, is Nick Foles playing? Or is it
No, I
Trubisky?
believe it's. Why would it be Nick Foles? Like to
I
be
don't know.
why would it be Nick Foles? Trubisky played really well last week, so
Yeah, you are right.
so
But I think if I'm allowed to do this, I'm gonna stay neutral on this one
ooh, taking the
because
cheap way out. I see.
the Vikings. It's gonna be a big Vikings offense versus Bears defense, and we know that Vikings, Kirk Cousins. I mean, I just said that because he's a quarterback, but Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Kyle Rudolph, Adam Thielen, and then that Bears defense. I mean, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks got a scary defensive line. They don't have Kendall Fuller anymore, which is kind of tough. But
Yeah.
do they have Eddie Jackson still?
I believe so. He's still playing. Yeah, no, wait, yeah, no, he's still there for the Bears. Yeah, he's playing.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna stay neutral with this one, but it should be a fun one. It's gonna be
Yeah, it's gonna
Vikings
be an
off.
ugly game again. So
Yeah.
next game we have the Jags and Ravens, and this is what I said earlier. It scares me that the Ravens have such an easy schedule. I'm gonna go with the Ravens on this one, even with Gardner Minshew. Minshew Mania is back in Jacksonville. As I'm reading this off the NFL app, Baltimore scored 34 points in two straight games. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. Ravens are gonna win this one. Lamar Jackson should be able to torch that Jacksonville defense.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson played great against Cleveland, obviously having 124 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Don't see how the Ravens lose this game. Obviously, if the Jaguars win, that's going to help a lot of teams in the hunt and in the wild card positions in the AFC. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens, but I really hope the Jaguars win.
Yeah, so do I. I'm a Jags fan. I'm a Jags fan. I have a sister that's a
I'm a
Jags
Jags
fan, so
fan.
I'm with you
Jags
this
fan.
week.
I'm a Jags fan on Sunday.
Yes,
Gardner
sir.
Minshew, one season wonder. I don't care what you say. He's coming back, and he's
He's coming
coming
back.
alive.
Yes, sir. Next game, Lions and Titans. This is going to be a bloodbath. I'm going with the Titans, even though Matt Patricia is gone from Detroit. Still going to go with the Titans. We all saw what Derrick Henry did last week, over 200 yards. This should be a cakewalk for the Titans and the Lions' quest for getting a decent defense continues as they will move up in the draft order after a loss this week.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry, best running back in the league. I hate to say it, but I mean, with that 200+ yard performance, I think it might be true. And obviously, I believe Nick Chubb's the best running back in this league. I'm not biased. I guess I am. For this whole year until he had another 200+ yard performance. So I mean, Derrick Henry's a monster. They're getting a healthy A.J. Brown, Johnny Smith, Corey Davis, and the defense. I mean, it's not a bad defense. It's not. It's not what's been winning them the games by any means.
Yeah, it's been that offense, but
It's not
still.
an average defense, but it's not terrible, but it's not great. But that Lions team is pathetic, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're getting more and more brutal as the weeks go on. I'm noticing here, and that last quote proved it. Next game, Texans Colts. If you flip the records, they have reversed the records. Texans at 4-9, Colts at 9-4. This should be an easy game for the Colts, even though it was not an easy game the last time they played. 2 weeks ago. I still believe in the Colts. I believe in Phillip Rivers. That connection with T.Y. Hilton has grown stronger and stronger as the weeks go by. I think this is, if the Colts want to have a shot at winning that division, it's gonna be winning these divisional games, and this is a very important game for them. So I think they win it, even though I think it'll be a lot closer than everyone thinks. I still think the last time these two played shows the type of team that the Texans are. A good team.
Yeah, honestly, when we were picking, I was waiting to make an upset pick, and I'm picking this for the upset. I'm taking the Texans +3, by 3 in this game because obviously you mentioned it's gonna be close. I'm gonna take the Texans in this one just because I want them to win.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, but
Deshaun Watson. I mean, obviously Bradley Roby, Will Fuller, obviously two players making stupid mistakes too close to the end of the season. It's not like they were in playoff contention.
Yeah, but still. Anyway, yeah.
It's the thought. So.
Yeah. So I missed it. Are you taking the Texans or Colts?
I'm taking the Texans, man. I'm taking the upset.
For my upset, I'm not so sure if you call this an upset or not. I'm taking the Eagles over the Cardinals. Like we said, Jalen Hurts played very well last week, and I think he's gonna do it again versus Hassan Reddick and that Cardinals defense. Dual threat Oklahoma quarterbacks going at it. They were not teammates, I don't think, ever, but very explosive quarterbacks, and I'm gonna go with the Eagles on this one. I just think even though with all those secondary injuries, they will still be able to get the job done.
Okay, so for this game, I'm also gonna go with the Eagles. I don't think it's an upset with the way they played against the Saints because this is not the Cardinals team we saw at the start of the year. Because this team, the Cardinals, were very, very good and very, very scary, and obviously looked like they were going to give the Seahawks, or not the Seahawks. Well, they are in that division. The Seahawks, because the Rams weren't really you weren't really thinking about them in that. But it looked like they could give the Seahawks a run for their money in that division. But now the Cardinals, lost to the Patriots, lost to the Dolphins, lost. They keep losing.
They keep losing these tough games.
They keep losing these games that go down to the wire, and that's obviously what the playoffs are like, games that go down to the wire. So, no, I'm going to take the Eagles in this one. I think Jalen Hurts should try his best to run around this Cardinals defense as best as he can.
Yeah. Next game, Jets and Rams. Rams, I'm just going to say that. Rams are going to win. I mean, it's obvious at this point.
I mean, can you not pick the Rams? Really, it's the Jets. 14, 15,
Yeah, 0 and
something
13, something like that.
So this season's really flown by. So the
It
records are
has,
all
it
messed up.
has.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Rams just for the reason that the Jets are
Yeah.
the worst team in the league.
Yeah. Chiefs, Saints, going with the Chiefs. Even with Drew Brees back, Michael Thomas is out. Chiefs are just the best team in football. It's no surprise. So yeah, Chiefs are gonna win this game, pretty easily. I'm gonna say, which may surprise some people. Maybe a little bit. So
Well, I don't know if it's surprising because I am gonna take the Chiefs in this one because I mean the Saints are getting Drew Brees back from a quite a sad rib injury.
yeah, and
But
long injury, collapsed lung as well.
yeah, so yeah, I think the Saints are gonna, excuse me, the Chiefs are gonna win this one because obviously, not fully healthy. Well, I'm not. Yeah, I think the Saints are getting back Drew Brees that's not fully healthy, and Michael Thomas is out, who's obviously been Drew Brees is number one receiver for a few years now. So yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Chiefs this one. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. I don't see the Chiefs losing this game, honestly.
Yeah. I expect it to be by at least 10 points. Next game, Browns Giants. I'm going with the Browns in this one. Browns are real, and who thought we would ever be saying that? I mean, it is 2020 after all. 2020 should have been weird, but I think even though the Browns lost last week, I still think they can win the division. Believe it or not. Now, it surely would have helped if they would have beaten the Ravens last week, but they still have a shot. If they win out, they would be 12-4. If the Steelers lose out, they would be 11-5. That's a better record than the Browns would have a better record. And even if the Steelers don't lose out, and then the Browns beat the Steelers in that tiebreaker game, it'd still go to the Steelers because they would have had a better divisional record. Dang.
I think Steelers have the tiebreaker.
So the only way for the Browns to win the division is for them to win out and the Steelers to lose out, but they play the Bengals, so I don't know. So
taking the Browns in this one, I really hope my dogs can go out and kill Colt McCoy.
No, Daniel Jones is starting, is he not?
No, it's Colt McCoy.
Oh, it is. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope Myles Garrett has a monster. I'm going to say monster game. So I think the Browns are going to win this game. I don't think there's a chance they lose, except that Giants defense looked really well against the Seahawks, but you're without James Bradbury, who is obviously your best cornerback, and you have Freddie Kitchens calling the plays with your offensive coordinator and Jason and your head coach. Not going to be there. So, yeah, I'm taking the Browns in this game. It should be a pretty easy one.
Yeah. Next game, we got the Steelers and the Bengals. Despite TikTok stars on the Steelers roster, I'm still going to go with them. I believe Ryan Finley is starting for the Bengals. That's just not good. Not good at all. So, anyway, Steelers defense is still a top 3 defense, if not the best defense in the NFL. They should be able to shut down Ryan Finley in that abysmal Bengals offense. So, yeah. It's going to be a pretty easy game for them.
I hope the Steelers lose, but I'm going to be true. They're going to win this game.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way the Steelers lose this game is if every pass is literally dropped.
Yeah.
Ryan Finley has 10 million yards passing.
Yeah.
Which is not going to happen because he's not that good by any means.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Steelers got to win this game. It's not like they're going to pound the rock, but they could if they wanted to because, really, they can do whatever they want against this Bengals defense. So, yeah, Steelers are going to take this one. If the Steelers limit their mistakes that have been terrible, losing them their games, stupid mistakes, dropping passes, penalties, I mean, they can be a big make a deep playoff run, but they're not going to beat the Chiefs. They're not better than the Chiefs, so
yeah,
no team's better than the Chiefs.
As of right now, if the playoffs were to start right now, the Dolphins would be the 7 seed, Steelers would be the 2 seed, my
So you
mom
play
and
the
my
Steelers.
yeah, my mom and my sister and two of my three sisters are Steelers fans. So and with them coming home from the for the
Family
holidays next
rivalry.
week, that's intense, my man. So
Family rivalry, bruh.
yeah, and to be honest, I genuinely believe the Dolphins would be able to beat the Steelers.
Listen. If that happens, I believe that too because that Dolphins defense, if they play really well against that Steelers team who has been making really bad mistakes, Dolphins can take a close one.
Yeah, they definitely can. Um, so anyway, that is gonna do it for this week's episode of the New Flame Sports Podcast. If you like this episode, go ahead and hit the like button. If you like what we're doing around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Share these videos with your friends, family, whoever. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. Leave your ideas, feedback. What you think about what we talked about this week. We'd love to hear you guys' feedback. I love reading the comments. The very few that we do get. But yeah. Happy holidays to all of you out here, out there. Christmas is next week. I believe Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. So many holidays in December. Editor Andrew here. Like I was saying, I just hope you guys have a happy holidays, this upcoming week, the past week or whatever it was. And I just hope you all stay safe. So we'll see you next week for episode 50.